Hello and welcome once again to the Ultimate Top Trumps Week 7 Video Diary Update. Hope you enjoy this little lot. This week we have mostly German packs from the noughties. As I will tell you later, these packs from Ravensburger, they threw up a bit of a surprise, which I wasn't really expecting as I've got loads, but I will share this with you a little later on. We also have a few packs from Belgium and a few packs from the UK, including a very hard to find pack from Ace. We have one pack from the Netherlands as well, dating from the early 1970s. As you can see from all of these, most titles are for boys rather than girls. Right, let's start with the oldest of the packs, Autos from the Netherlands. The case, as you can see, is a raised base. If you remember, we saw this in a previous video. That I believe was also another jumbo pack. On the underside of the base you can clearly see the embossed jumbo logo and the bridge at the bottom. The back side of the title card has the pack list of the series. An interesting point to make with the title card is that it's larger than the game cards, a thing I have noticed with other packs from this range. The title card is in fact 5mm taller by 3mm wider, which is very unusual. As you can see here, the difference. Anyway, the cards themselves, they have no playable stats as the game is a quartet game. The quartet is part not like the A1, B1, etc., but are based on countries, and so there are 4 vehicles from France, 4 from Italy, etc. There is even a quart covering heavy goods vehicles and another covering much older vehicles such as the early Mercedes. Football by Ace is one of 3 in this series. I found it very difficult to acquire this pack, but as some of you will know, I will not use the R word. Each card has 5 playable stats about the player, but missing I think an obvious one, and that is the number of goals scored. That might be interesting, and also a good stat. Anyway, there was a brief write-up also about each player, which is quite interesting. Racing Trucks by Carter Mundi is a pretty standard pack that is exactly the same in design as previous packs, but with just a few new trucks. As I've said before, this kind of duplication is something that puts most people off of buying and collecting packs of this nature, but one thing is certain, this sort of thing has been happening right from the beginning of Trumps and Quartet. Nothing new. Formel from Berliner Giga Trump 2000. The bear logo always reminds me of the bear that used to advertise the Hofmeister lager, and I hate lager. Anyway, the cards themselves, they have to be turned 90 degrees clockwise to read stats, which are in German, French and Italian in this case. With the cards turned 90 degrees, it does make it easier to fit for a larger picture on the card and increases the potential for more information. Again, with many of the images, they are taken from other packs from other series, and it is possible to see that the persons that done the research did not necessarily do a very good job, and I will be running a feature on this card differences in the future. Now for the Belgian packs. Some of you will see that the Autos pack is very similar to the new Cars pack from Waddington's International Series 1983 to 1985, and you would be right, it is exactly the same right down to the cards and design. What we can tell you from this is that the Waddington's pack was released first, and when this pack was released in Belgium, the cars were no longer new models. This is a superb example of how packs can be released in other countries with very simple changes to things such as language and logos. The mechanics of this is very complex and complicated, so if anyone knows how FX Schmid came to use Waddington's designs, then please do let us know, although it is probable the designs were sold once the pack was out of date. There's an interesting little touch with this series, and that is the 3 extra cards. One has the pack list, and the others show country by country card manufacturers, which is a really nice little touch. And it's a shame that the Waddington's packs don't have this type of information. As you can see, it lists all the countries and all the makers and manufacturers of those countries. On the final card, we can see the card badges of these popular card manufacturers. And as I said earlier, it's a shame that these features weren't in the Waddington's packs. Grand Prix is our second Belgian pack in this series. The pack and cards themselves are pretty much standard, as you can see, but it's the extra cards at the back that are the interesting ones in this series. As with the Autos pack, one card has a full series list, and on the other side is a list of the newest releases. As well as this, there are 2 other cards, one in French and one in Dutch. On one side we can see a list of flags used at race car events and shown in colour, which makes them a good reference when watching car or motorcycle racing. As you probably know, if you're a fan of racing, the flags are the same for every country across the world. On the other side of the cards we have a diagram of a standard car showing all the major electrical components. Although this may seem boring to many, this highlights the origins of the game as being an educational toy. Super Locks Super Trump from Ravensburger. The card design is pretty standard right the way through the entire range, and if I'm perfectly honest, this layout and design is my favourite of the lot, as it makes for easy and clear reading. Now, you remember in my introduction of this video I mentioned that there was something that was different and something that I'd not noticed before. Well, the cards with the highest stats are highlighted in yellow instead of staying orange, as you can see here. It's a pretty obvious difference, really. It jumps off the card, so I don't really know why I haven't noticed it before, but that's the difference. Firestool, I'm sorry if that's pronounced wrong. This is another title in the Ravensburger Super Trump series, and as you can see, it's another standard sort of pack and a common subject, and that is of motorcycles, which is obvious there. Sorry. As you can see, the highest stats are highlighted in yellow, just as they were before. The last few packs of this update are all Ravensburger Super Trump from Germany. As I've mentioned before, there is nothing at all that is particularly interesting about the packs, except for the highlighting of the highest statistics. Again, as is common with this period of all the games within the Ravensburger Super Trump series, they're all boys games, such as you can see here, tractors, there's planes, cars, motorbikes, boats, and so on and so on. Each year the same packs are released with just 4 or 5 different cards, with these being the newest models. This type of repetition gets rather boring after a while, and it puts collectors and fans alike off. the cases for this series right the way through remained unchanged. The case was made of a much softer plastic, which allowed them to be dropped in the playground, as was the case with most cases of this time. They had a red base and a clear lid. The corners of the base and the lid all were squared off. Well, that is all for this week, and don't forget we've got a shop and we've got a forum where you can talk all things trumps. So until next week, keep trumping.